Good afternoon, and welcome to the installation of Dr. Simon Board to the Benjamin Graham Centennial Endowed Chair in Value Investing. I'm Darnell Hunt, Dean of the Division of Social Sciences at UCLA. It is my pleasure to thank Ron and Leanne Havner for the establishment of the Benjamin Graham Chair in Value Investing, and I look forward to celebrating with them in person when we are able to. Ron, who earned his bachelor's degree in economics from UCLA in 1979, is also a valued member of my Social Sciences Advisory Board, to which he brings his expertise, insight, and enthusiasm. As Ron and Leanne know, endowed chairs are vitally important because they provide us with the ability to retain and to recruit the most talented faculty. Though I will not embarrass Ron and Leanne by speaking at length about their kindness and their thoughtfulness, both of which they have in abundance. Instead, I will simply say how grateful we are for their generosity and continued involvement with the division in the Benjamin Graham Value Investing Program. My congratulations to Simon Board on becoming the inaugural holder of the Benjamin Graham Centennial Endowed Chair in Value Investing. Simon is a scholar of distinction, known for his steadfast dedication to his students, and he is most deserving of this tremendous honor. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Dora Costa, Chair and Professor of Economics.
Thank you, Darnell. On behalf of the Economics Department, it is my pleasure to thank Ron and Leanne Havner for the Benjamin Graham Centennial Endowed Chair in Value Investing. The Economics Department has heard our alumni loud and clear when you have told us you want more practical knowledge of economics. We have responded by bringing you into the classroom to talk to our students about how you use economics in your job, by asking you to help us mentor our students through programs such as Sharp Fellows and the Benjamin Graham Value Investing Program, and by creating new classes which guide students through the problems businesses encounter. One such class is taught by Simon Board, our inaugural chairholder. Simon Board joined UCLA in 2007 as an assistant professor after a brief period at the University of Toronto following his PhD at Stanford. We quickly tenured Simon and promoted him to full professor in 2017. Simon is a wonderful example of the department's ability to spot and nurture talent. Simon made his mark not just through his research, but also through his contributions to the daily life of the department, providing much of the social glue we need to function and reminding us that a bit of economics explains a lot of the world. We are deeply grateful to Ron and Leanne Havner for providing us with the Benjamin Graham Centennial Endowed Chair in Value Investing. While the department is outstanding at spotting and nurturing talent, keeping talent in a competitive environment is much, much harder. Chairs provide us with the means to do so, and we hope we will be able to keep Simon at UCLA for many years to come. We'll now turn it over to Simon.
Thank you very much, Dora and Darnell, for those introductions. And thank you very much to Ron and Leanne Havner for their generous support of the Value Investing Program. I am incredibly happy to participate in this program, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it evolves in the future. This program is really transformational to the lives of our undergraduates. It's also incredibly important to train the future generations of investors on how to make investments wisely. So I was asked to talk a little about my research today. I'm formally a game theorist, which means I study the strategic interaction through models. And so today I'll talk about how these ideas can help us understand competitive advantage. So before diving into my research, I'll give you a little bit of a overview of competitive advantage, kind of recap of a competitive strategy class if you took one as an undergraduate or as an MBA. And let me share my slides. go. So let's start with a quote. And who better to quote from than Warren Buffett? So the key to investing is not assessing how much an industry is going to affect society or how much it will grow, but rather determining the competitive advantage of a given company and above all, the durability of that advantage. So let's talk about these two ideas about what determines competitive advantage and its durability. So let's go back to Michael Porter, and he was talking about writing about competitive advantage. He just defined it as it's about being different. And so it's helpful, as I tell my undergraduates, it's helpful to think about this from the demand side and the supply side and the various attributes of a product, of a company that can create a competitive advantage. So on the demand side, it might mean having a technically superior product, might being differentiated and having a niche. It might mean having network effects in your favor. So a network effect is when your product is more valuable to an individual user, the more other people who use it. And so this is very important for many tech firms. And it really creates like a demand side returns to scale. And switching costs can be another form of competitive advantage. If you have lots of locked-in customers, you can raise your price above that of your competitors, and you won't lose your customers. On the supply side, there's also various competitive advantages that firms may have. Economies of scale are a classic one. If you are further down the cost curve, then it's very hard for competitors to match you. Maybe you have a unique resource. So classic one would be patents. And maybe you have some unique capabilities. So some skill that other firms can't match, engineering skill, R&D. So those are forms of competitive advantage people often talk about. But we all know that the market cap of a firm is determined by the net present value of its profits over time. And so we don't just care about the competitive advantage today, but whether the competitive advantage is sustainable. So hence the second part of the Warren Buffett's quote. And so it's always important to ask, what determines whether a competitive advantage is durable? So it's interesting to ask 4 questions. The first one is, can a competitor imitate what you do? Secondly, is there entry that can come in and eat your lunch? Third, maybe your profits will be appropriated by somebody else in the value chain, so a supplier of yours perhaps. And fourth, maybe your customers will eventually substitute away. And so I've on the slide given a few examples of these, but it's nice to think of a more modern day example. And so in my class, we talk about lots of companies. A fun one at the moment is Tesla, which if I recall, I think it has a market cap of $700 billion right now, and a price earnings ratio of around 400, using their earnings from yesterday. As a comparison, GM, General Motors, has a P ratio of 13. So clearly people think Tesla's going to be around for a while and is making a lot of money. And if you talk to someone who owns a Tesla, then they'll often say, oh, it's a revolution. Tesla is to the iPhone what GM is to the flip phone. But still, if you're the most advent supporter of Tesla, you need to answer these 4 questions. Can a competitor, why can't GM just mimic it? Take a battery and put it in one of your current cars, put a nice iPad in the middle of it to control everything. Why is that so hard to do? Whenever there's a disruptive innovation, it always attracts entry. So why won't more entrants come in and compete with Tesla? Why won't the profits be taken by somebody else. So in the future, not too distant future probably, we might care more about the software that drives our cars than the actual car itself. So maybe Waymo is where the profit's going to be, in the same way that Microsoft, in some sense, won out over IBM. Or maybe your customers will substitute away. I don't care so much about the car that arrives if I'm ordering via an Uber. So cars aren't going anywhere anytime soon, but people's preferences are going to change a lot if you're just not buying cars, but rather ordering them for individual rides. And so when you're making these predictions, we don't have data about what's happening 10 years from now. So implicitly, we're using models in our head. So as a game theorist, I spend most of my time studying individual companies, but I study those models that underlie the economic forces that help us make those predictions. So let's talk about a few of the ideas that I've worked on. So talk about 3 ideas that are perhaps not quite as traditional sources of competitive advantage, and ask, well, could they be? And these are increasingly important for many modern information-based companies. And so when you take a traditional competitive strategy class, like the one I teach, we'll talk about the things that were on the first slide. We'll talk about returns to scale and switching costs and network effects and things like that. But often CEOs spend a lot of time worrying about talent, reputation, and relationships. And I will have a few slides on each of these. So they seem important for many modern firms. So take a company like HBO Max. It has a lot of talent embedded in it, the decisions that its executives, high quality of its executives, the decisions they make in ordering the right shows, keeping production budgets under control, the quality of its marketing team, spotting trends, and then successfully launching shows. The reputation is very important. It has a very high reputation for high quality programming that people trust. When a new show is on HBO, there's going to be high quality. And HBO has important relationships with its creatives, with showrunners, and similarly, financial companies, Goldman Sachs, consulting companies like Deloitte, they're talent-based. Now, this is not to say that there's not other competitive advantages. Of course, HBO has its has its backlog of, has all the films, it has all the shows, has lots of locked-in customers. But still, let's ask, can these be a source of competitive advantage? And I'll look, to be precise about this, I'll look through the perspective of 3 models. And this is going to provide a flavor of my research and also show the kind of insights that game theoretic models can deliver. So talent. Can talent be the basis of a sustainable competitive advantage? On one hand, the pro side, there's a quote from Laszlo Bock, who was the head for many years of HR at Google and has a very nice book called Work Rules. And he writes that hiring is the single most important people activity in any organization. Our greatest single constraint on growth has always been our ability to find great people. On the skeptical side, we have Greenwald and Kahn in their book, Competition Demystified. And they say that the skills and competencies of even the best run companies are available to competitors. Talent can be hired away, managerial quality upgraded. So what they're saying isn't that talent's not important, it is. But if you have a great idea, a great product, a great patent, then you can hire talent on the competitive market. And so can talent be a sustainable competitive advantage? And in order to make this discussion could be very vague, but the way I do this is by looking at a particular mechanism and kind of diving in and trying to understand it formally. So I have a paper with a couple of colleagues, Moritz Meiteveen and Tomasz Sadzik, who are here at UCLA. And it investigates one particular mechanism, which is the idea that talented employees are better at identifying talent. So the motivation for this is Dunning-Kruger, if you know that, which is says the skills that you need to produce the right answer are exactly the same skills as you need to recognize what the right answer is. Put differently, it's very hard to separate the wheat from the chaff. If you don't know what wheat and chaff are, you can't spot the difference between them. Okay, so if talented employees are better at identifying talent, then it sounds like talent should be a sustainable, a competitive advantage. If I have lots of talent today, I'll have lots of talent tomorrow. But it's not necessarily sustainable. And what happens is that, my company might have more talent than yours, but sometimes I make bad hires, and sometimes you make good hires. And so slowly over time, my quality goes down, my talent goes down, and your talent comes up. In the words of a nice quote from Laszlo Book's book, each generation of hiring will be a slightly poorer version of the hiring done by the prior generation. And there's just a regression to mediocrity as we slowly converge to the average. So fortunately, that's not the end of the paper. It would have been a very short paper if that was. So what the point of the paper is to study the market for talent. And so it's a simple idea that imagine there's a collection of firms, they're endowed with different talent, and firms post wages in order to attract applicant pools. And then they use their current talent to try to identify from the applicant pool talented employees. And so one of the main results of the paper is that in equilibrium, talented firms tend to post higher wages. So the idea is, if you post low wages, you're going to get the residual applicant pool, and it's full of duds. And it doesn't matter whether or not I have talented managers or untalented managers, I'm going to hire a dud. However, if I post higher wages, there'll still be some talented people in the pool. And actually now having talented managers, they're very useful at being able to select out those talented employees. So there's a complementarity between posting high wages and having talented managers. So that means in the market equilibrium that talented firms should post high wages. They should recruit from high quality applicant pools. And this is exactly what stops the regression to mediocrity. So I start off with more talented workers. I post higher wages. We recruit from better applicant pools, and we keep more. We have more talented applicants, even in steady state. And so talent actually does become a sustainable competitive advantage. So how does this mesh with what Greenwald and Kahn were talking about? They said, well, if there's a competitive market for talent, surely anyone will hire it. Surely competitors could pay wages and catch up. And it's true, they could pay wages and catch up. But it's not optimal for them to do so. Catching up is actually just too costly. It's not profit maximizing for them. And so if you go back to the first slide I did on the 4 questions about whether or not competitive advantage is sustainable, I phrased them as saying, will there be entry? Will someone copy you? And so on. Not could they. Look, there always could be entry. But the question is whether that entry is profitable or not. And so that's the power of the equilibrium view, is that understanding whether or not it's in the self-interest of your competitors to actually mimic you. Okay, so there maybe talent certainly can be a sustainable competitive advantage. How about reputation? So can reputation be a sustainable competitive advantage? On the pro side, we have Philip Kotler, who in the forward to a very nice book by Daniel Diermeyer called Reputation Rules writes, in my field of marketing, brand reputation is everything. Company reputation, even more important, it goes beyond customers. It includes investors, employees, channel partners, and society at large. On the con side, I have Shakespeare. Well, technically, Iago from Othello, who after Cassio is tricked into starting a fight and getting fired. He's saying, reputation, 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 I've lost the immortal part of myself. And Iago says, but reputation is an idle and most false imposition, oft got without merit and lost without deserving. It's like the tide, it comes in and goes out. So can reputation be the basis of a sustainable competitive advantage? Okay, to understand this again, we're going to have to actually ask, what do we mean by reputation? What is this? We all know when we talk about this in common language, but can we be more precise about it? And over the years, economics has had two ways of modeling reputation. The first model is, I'll call it the type model. There are some firms out there that are high quality, some firms out there that are low quality, and the market just tries to figure it out over time. So this is a good model if we're thinking about learning about the product quality of product on Amazon. There's some gadgets that are very good at what they do, and some just break as soon as you get them home. Okay, and the purpose of the review system is to help us learn which ones are which. But then there's the second is the incentives model. It says that there's nothing intrinsically good and bad out there. There's some firms that all firms are inherently the same, but they can choose to be high quality or low quality, and that reflects incentives. And the market, so someone with a bad reputation, the reason they have a bad reputation is because they've chosen to do low quality things. They've chosen to made poor decisions over time, and it's the market's way of punishing them. Okay, so this might be an eBay seller who there's nothing, who has a reputation for being prompt or reputation for delivering things slowly. Well, there's nothing inherent in why it takes me a week to walk to USPS and post this parcel. It is a choice that I make, and the fact that the market punishes me with a low reputation, that provides incentives for me to actually to deliver on time. But when you think of many modern companies, actually neither of these models fits particularly well. I think of HBO, it has very high quality programming, but this reflects it's not just a choice today, but it's a choice over time. It's invested in people, it's invested in processes in order to find good ideas and turn them into good TV shows. And so that motivated a paper that I wrote with Moritz Meyer-Teveen, who's my colleague, and it's called Reputation for Quality. It's published in Econometrica in 2013. And this is a very natural model that firms invest into their quality. It takes time. And then the market learns slowly about the quality, and that feeds into the reputation. So your quality lags behind your investment, and your reputation lags behind your quality. Okay? And here's a stylized the picture. That's the model. But I'm not going to give you the math, don't worry. And so a model like this, it gives you some nice insights. And so one of them is that the reputational incentives depend a lot on how the market learns. And that really affects the reputational dynamics and whether or not reputation can be a sustainable competitive advantage or not. So you've got good and bad types of firms out there, and which reflects their past investments. Someone who's a good firm has been investing in the past. Someone who's a bad firm has been not investing in the past. And so if you learn about high quality firms through good news signals that indicate the firm is high quality, so like winning an Oscar, right? A low quality firm can never win an Oscar, but a high quality firm may, not always, but may if it's lucky. Okay. In that case, those good news signals, who has the most incentive to invest in those? And the answer is actually, it's firms with low reputations, typically. If Hulu wins an Oscar, as it just did for Nomadland, that's worth a lot more to it than it is to HBO. It already has a great reputation. So if you think about how much the reputation changes with this piece of news, well, a high quality firm the reputation doesn't change much. Reputation of a low quality firm changes a lot. There's a large incentive for it to invest. And so low reputation firms tend to invest more, they tend to catch up. Whereas, and so this means that there's convergent dynamics, and reputation is not a sustainable competitive advantage. However, if the market learns through bad news, the scandals, things that take companies down, then actually firms with high reputations have a lot more incentive to invest, and in order to avoid the scandal and hold their reputation. So a scandal is far worse for HBO than for Quibi. I didn't want to pick on any live firm in my example here. And so that means that high firms firms with good reputations tend to invest more, and they tend to keep ahead, and reputation can be a sustainable competitive advantage. Okay, so I'm running a little on time, so I'll just give you a couple of quotes from this and a headline. So the third one was relationships. Question is, can relationships be the basis of sustainable competitive advantage? And one quote on the pro side is Bob Gibbons at MIT. He says, look, firms are riddled with relational contracts. There are informal quid pro quos between co-workers, and business dealings are riddled with relational contracts. Supply chains often involve long-run hand-in-glove supplier relationships. Relational contracts are everywhere. On the other hand, there's a classic case back in the early 80s of the NUMMI alliance between GM and Toyota, where we saw that the reputation relationships within a plant got turned over in a matter of a year, maybe less. And so the Wall Street Journal at the time wrote, NUMMI has managed to convert a crew of largely middle-aged, rabble-rousing former GM workers into a crack force that is beating the bumpers of big three plants in efficiency and product quality. Okay, so can relationships be the basis of a sustainable competitive advantage? And I wrote a paper about this. It's published in the American Economic Review back in 2011. And I'll just say that one should be skeptical. One should be skeptical. Okay, I'm going to fly over this, and please, email me if you would like my slides or like to talk more about these ideas. I'm always very happy to talk to others. And so today, the aim of the talk has just been to highlight a few ideas I've been working on and see how they inform kind of the discussion about competitive advantage. This is the kind of thing we do a lot in my class. And so thanks to the generosity of Ron and Leanne, now we've been going to offer a new class, 106S, Competitive Strategy, and it's coming in the spring of 2022. And this is really going to be integrated into the value investing program, and I'm very excited to start teaching it. And the aim of the class is to do three things. One is to help students think rigorously through formal models. Okay. Second is to develop industry knowledge, and we do this through weekly case studies. We take firms, we have alumni come in, often lead the case studies, and it's just a really great experience for the undergraduates. And the third skill is to develop their written rhetorical presentation skills, and it's so fun to have them arguing in class with each other, and then trying to back their opinions up with data. So let me stop sharing here. And just thank you all very much for listening to me. And I'll hand back over to Dora, who will say a little bit about the value investing program.
Thank you, Simon. You have turned us all into value investors. The Benjamin Graham Centennial Endowed Chair in Value Investing would not have been possible without the Benjamin Graham Program in Value Investing, and the Benjamin Graham Program in Value Investing would not have been possible without Bill Simon. Bill is both a practitioner and a teacher. In 1988, Bill co-founded William E. Simon & Sons, a global merchant bank, with his father and brother. He is now a partner emeritus at Simon Quick Advisors. Bill also is the co-founder of our value investing program, recently renamed as the Benjamin Graham Value Investing Program. Bill teaches and mentors the students in the program and is one of our most popular teachers. The economics department is super lucky to have him. I will now turn it over to Bill.
Thank you very much, Dora, for a very kind introduction. And Simon, that presentation was truly a tour de force. It was insightful, instructive, and thought-provoking. I have a feeling that all of us will look with new eyes at the companies we study or may wish to invest in. At the beginning of your presentation, you showed a slide quoting Warren Buffett about the crucial importance of durability in competitive advantage. Certainly, the participation of a scholar of your caliber in our program will lend both competitive advantage and durability to our work. We are enormously grateful to Ron and Leanne Havner for their generosity, which has made this chair possible and has greatly strengthened our program. Andy Atkinson, the program's co-founder, and I, together with all our students, extend a strong welcome to you, Simon, and we look forward to working with you and learning from you in the future. Pandemic notwithstanding, these are incredibly exciting times for our students. I may not be the most impartial observer, but I believe that the Benjamin Graham Value Investing Program provides a unique springboard for undergraduates seeking a career in the financial field. As it happens, our classes take place in the very same building where Benjamin Graham himself taught, and knowing this reinforces our commitment to honor his legacy, especially his dedication as a teacher and mentor to his students. To be sure, Andy and I are committed to giving our students the practical preparation they need to begin their careers. They learn the technical tools of financial analysis and modeling, as well as some important financial history to give them perspective on today's world. They even have the opportunity to take level 1 of the Chartered Financial Analyst exam. But we seek to provide them and prepare them in other ways as well. Perhaps most significantly, we try to give our students a certain special mindset, a way of looking at things that requires a rational, thorough, and long-term outlook. In other words, we want them to acquire the habits of mind that will help them succeed not only in their careers, but also in their lives as a whole. To this end, we've developed a practitioner-based curriculum which introduces students to the thinking of outstanding investors with long years of experience and much wisdom to impart. They hear from these women and men, many of them UCLA alumni, in the classroom, and they also get to work alongside them in our special projects course. And if there's any alumni here today watching that would like to become involved, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our relationships in the investment community are broad and deep and have led to many internships and jobs at JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bain & Company, among other premier firms. This is a good opportunity for our students, many of whom are the first members of their family to go to college. This kind of success depends upon the support of many people, and I want to express my great gratitude to a few of them now. Andy and I couldn't do what we do without our extraordinary program managers, Humberto Marino Hernandez and Tony Winston. I also want to thank Dora and her predecessor as department chair for their championing our program since the very beginning. Dean Darnell Hunt has also been a key supporter of the department's innovations in teaching as we seek new ways to prepare our students for their careers. A deep, heartfelt thanks to all of you. In a world where one hesitates to be too sure of one's predictions, I am confident that in light of the hard work and commitment of these valued colleagues, our program has a very, very bright future indeed. In closing, let me express my appreciation once again to Simon Board and to everyone joining us today on this Zoom call. This is indeed a signal moment in the life of the Benjamin Graham Value Investing Program, and we are most glad and grateful to have you with us. Please stay well.